as we embark, and what I'm trying to do with this program through the Aspen Institute on Race in the Arts, is to find prescriptive measures. Because people are in dire need of leadership on many of these issues. They're not simply negative actors in many cases, simply they just don't know what to do, how to proceed. So given that landscape and your context over all these decades, and you're still, every organization you've been involved with, whether it's UNICEF, as a Goodwill Ambassador, or your own organization, which we didn't even get to talk about, that, Sankofa, we haven't gotten to talk about that. And over the course of your life, you've been involved in activist organizations, but I think you have made them activist. So maybe final words on just, that charge.
I think if there were an attempt to define what single thought placed me on a path that has served my interests and served the interests of those who seek me out, it has really been that I understood that I had the power of choice very early on. Just knowing Robeson wasn't a coincidence. In the moment I met him was the coincidence, but what happened from that moment on became a choice, a way of life, a study, an appetite for a certain kind of space in my life to be filled. When Eleanor Roosevelt called me, as much as I admired her and what I knew about her as a child in the period of her husband's reign, I came to see in her values and qualities that the coincidence of meeting her was only the introduction. What happened was that I became deeply immersed in what her work was about and how much that work paralleled interests that I had in Africa and young Africans growing up, and what influence she had in leading me to a lot of the political thinkers that came out of Africa. I mean, no one else did that except perhaps Du Bois and Robeson. Mm-hmm. But they were so marginalized that to hear another voice coming from a white woman that had, who was deeply touched by power and what power could be manipulated to do, to know her and to be tutored and counseled by her was a choice I made. Because I found in her that things more deeply to my daily existence were being nourished, and I liked their values. And then when you go through the rest of your life and you're meeting people like Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker and Dr. King and all of the young Turks that I met, many of whom were younger than I. When I first met John Lewis, he was 18. And now he's the old man of the sea. And I'm definitely older than he is by a lot. And he never lets me forget it. But all of these things were choices that I made. Nothing was imposed on me. What was imposed on me was the power that these people brought to the table for human thought. And in the values that were imparted to me was where I found strength. Against Paul Robeson and Eleanor Roosevelt and Nelson Mandela and all the people who were deeply, deeply involved in my life, George Bush becomes chump change. His villainy is very clear to me, and what I must do with his villainy is very clear to me. And since I rely on him for nothing that has to do with my existence, I'm liberated from having any expectations. I have hope, I have prayer, I would like to see miracles wrought, and that he becomes transformed into something more rewarding than he is. But with Eleanor Roosevelt, when she was working on the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, the UN, it was in her circle that I began to meet young Africans from all over Africa who were studying in England, who were here studying, and who were preparing themselves for the day of their ruling their countries. So I met Tom Mboya from Kenya and got to know Jomo Kenyatta. And then I met Sekou Touré, and I met Senghor, and I met Julius Nyerere, and I began to meet all these who were young men, young people on the verge of something. And their condition was very much like the condition that I experienced as Black American and that I experienced as a Jamaican subject. And in all of this familiarity with this power, with this thinking, with this thought, these were choices that I made, that I would live in the midst of these people. I would live in the midst of the struggle. I will let what comes out of this be that which nourishes the best that's in me. And I think that having come to a point now, I'm almost 90. Did I say that?
You did. Not only that, you actually managed to answer both of the other questions. And I think that it's just been a tremendous honor to have you here, Harry. So thank you so much. Choice, the final word.
Thank you.